crucial discussion with the Honorable Minister of Housing and Social Amenities, who is Honorable Daniel Garwe, and he is here and in the studio. So we'll also be going live on Facebook in just a moment. Please do log on at Capitalk FM, Rumbidzai Venge, as well as Ishmael Gurenyika, and you can catch the conversation there. Logged on to Capitalk, the happy station. The number is 0719100404 if you would like to get in touch to weigh in as we talk about a very important issue to you and I, the housing delivery update, and the question whether 1 million jobs by 2025 will be achievable. And with that, I certainly will be doing very little of the talking, as the Honorable Minister will be coming in and giving you those much needed answers.
It's happiness all day long on the Happy Station.
Capital 100.4 FM.
Harare's heartbeat.
The Exchange on Deep Dive.
The station is Capitalk 100.4 FM, and as promised, that conversation, 1 million houses by 2025. What are some of the steps on implementation to arrive at that a very important milestone when it comes to housing in Zimbabwe? So now it is my a distinguished honor to welcome the Honorable Minister Daniel Garwe. He's the Minister of National Housing and Social Amenities. Honorable Minister, a very good evening and welcome to Capitalk. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation.
Thank you very much and good evening to you. Good evening, Zimbabwe.
Now, there's a critical question. Honorable Minister. Before we started the conversation with you this evening, we were speaking to residents, and they all seem to say we're facing issues around housing and housing delivery. Some were talking about the Harare situation, but we believe it is a nationwide issue. What are your sentiments, or what is the status of housing in Zimbabwe at the moment?
Thank you very much. Perhaps maybe I need to start by explaining to you what the mandate of the ministry is, so that we delve into the intricacies and details of the housing delivery value chain. Our mandate is pretty simple: to facilitate the delivery of housing in a sustainable, affordable and modern manner. And we also look at the existing infrastructure, housing infrastructure, to deal with the issues related to informal settlements, to deal decisively with the causes of informal settlements. In this instance, these are land barons, to create policies that ensure a smooth implementation of the housing delivery value chain. And we have just done that, and that is the mandate. And the mandate is a derivative of the Vision 2030 that speaks to an upper middle income economy status by that year. And what is the contribution from the housing sector? And this is what we are working on.
And in the same vein, thank you so much for helping us appreciate your ministry and the mandate of the ministry. But when we talk about social amenities, perhaps you can go a little bit further in that regard as well, Honorable Minister, in just helping our listeners appreciate the issues that also fall under your purview and your mandate as a ministry.
Social amenities refer to things like stadiums, clinics, shopping malls, schools, and so on and so forth. Those are what we call community centers. Those are social amenities, and they fall under our purview.
So all those issues certainly will be directed to the right place in your ministry. Now, Honorable Minister, please track us and walk us through some of the achievements that have been made by your ministry since the inception of the Second Republic.
In terms of the National Development Strategy 1, there is a housing thematic sector. And under the housing thematic area, we were expected to deliver 225,000 housing units by 2025 from the inception of the NDS1. The delivery program is not confined to government and local authorities alone. It's all encompassing. We have the private sector, we've got the pension funds, insurance companies, banks, financial institutions, building societies, and many other developing companies that are involved, individuals, the diasporians, and everybody else. So our role is to create an environment suitable for the housing delivery value chain to make sense. Create an environment that ensures that whoever is involved in the housing delivery, be it the contractors, the manufacturers, the retailers, the end users, they are operating in an environment that is protective, that creates that understanding that what we are doing is in line with Vision 2030. And this is what we are facilitating. And we are working with all these other players. It's not a government alone program. We have got the private sector involved. I'm sure you've witnessed where we've been officiating on the commissioning of houses by His Excellency in Harare and many other parts of the country, being developed by private sector players, by banks, by realtors and many other players, insurance companies, and so on and so forth. So it's a whole of Zimbabwe approach. The diasporians are very much involved in the delivery value chain.
So really leaving no place and no one behind.
Precisely.
If you're just joining us, this is The Exchange on Capi Talk 100.4 FM. We're also live on Facebook. Thanks so much for making Capi Talk your choice. This evening, we are speaking to the Honorable Minister of National Housing and Social Amenities, Honorable Daniel Garwe, about the housing delivery update, the state of housing in Zimbabwe, and more importantly, NDS1 and that housing thematic structure that speaks of 1 million houses by 2030. Now, a very important aspect, and we have a program that we run on the deep dive, Honorable Minister, called the Post Cabinet Briefing, where we really look at all those issues discussed in the cabinet briefing. And one of the issues that we've been really tracking with interest is the housing delivery program. Tell us a little bit about what, where this is now, as you did highlight the issue of the 220 housing units by 2025, but how far has the implementation gone? Give us a little bit of a progress report on the housing delivery program.
Well, let me start by giving you a definition of the housing delivery value chain. When we talk of housing delivery, we are looking at, on one hand, just the construction and development of roads, waters, or the first services, or the development of a stand. Because other people would want to build their own houses of their own choice, own designs, and so on and so forth. Then we've got others where we will then come in as government or private sector will then build and then sell as built houses. So in terms of the instruction, where we're supposed to deliver 225,000 housing units by 2025, that includes developed stands and houses as well, the superstructure. In terms of the stands, I'm proud to mention that we've delivered 136,000 stands by 31st May 2023, and we delivered 49,750 fully constructed houses, which gives us a sum total of 186,000 houses delivered, both stands and houses delivered by May this year. Our target was 225,000 housing units, and we are now at 186,000 housing units. What that means is we are way ahead of the target, and we then advise cabinet that there is need for us now to revise the target from 225,000 units to 1 million units by 2025, because we believe at the rate at which we are going and the cooperation that we are getting from the private sector, we'll be able to hit the 25,000 target by the end of 2023.
That was well deserved. I mean, I'm in awe, Honorable Minister. So things are on track in that regard, isn't it?
Absolutely, we are on target.
Wonderful. And we hope that Cabinet then raises it maybe to 2 million at this rate.
Maybe I may also say we then revise the figure by 2025 to 1 million, taking cognizance of the new technologies that the global are being used in housing delivery chain, new building technologies which ensure that within the shortest period of time, or in half the time and half the cost, you will produce the houses, be them single story or high-rise buildings. I mean, you have traveled to Dubai, you have traveled to Egypt. It's the building new technologies at play that are being used, and Zimbabwe cannot be left behind in embracing new technologies in the housing delivery value chain, and that's what we are doing.
And then the next, sort of question from that Honorable Minister would be, will that meet requirements? Will the million houses or housing units and the houses delivered, are they going to meet the requirements currently there? I know there's a huge appetite for Zimbabweans who want to own their own houses or build, whichever the case may be.
No, as we speak, our backlog stands at 1.5 million. But the demand for housing is a moving target. There will never be a country under the sun which will then say we have now reached optimum level, we don't have any backlog, everybody just click a button and they've got a house. That will not happen. But we are saying we are going to be reaching a level where we will not have an astronomical backlog. So we want to be able to reduce that backlog. By how do we do it? Let's employ the new technologies which the rest of the world is using in housing delivery value chain. If we can deliver 100 blocks of flats within 6 months, where 100 blocks of flats of each flat with 14 units, you'll have reduced by that much. And you then get that program run throughout the country, because the president said no place and no one must be left behind. So in the housing delivery value chain, we also very much aware of the need to transform our rural communities so that they've got access to housing with all the facets that are there: clean water for drinking, sanitation systems, flushable sanitation systems, renewable energy, and modern houses that are resistant to climate change, and so on and so forth. This is what we are doing.
I'm very interested to also hear about the sustainable angle and the fact that you've actually thought about, some of those aspects and the environmental angles as well, and some of the considerations in the construction going forward. Perhaps tell us a little bit about that.
Let me start from the environmental aspect of it. In terms of carbon emissions, the housing sector contributes up to 40% of the carbon emissions because of the cement content that is there. And we are now saying, let's now move away from the continuous use of so much cement and move to the new technologies, which use steel and other byproducts. And we then migrate. Obviously, that migration must start from the mindset. People must now learn to understand that there are other forms of housing delivery that does not necessarily require to use cement. So that we respond to the environmental issues that are being raised globally in terms of carbon emissions. We also then said, because we are under sanctions and we all aware of the impact of sanctions on us, we have no access to lines of credit in the IMF or World Bank. We have to use our own resources to build or to develop our country. What is it that we have in Zimbabwe that we can use to ensure that there is smooth housing delivery? And that's what we are doing, using our own resources to develop our country. We now, very soon, are going to be having steel for the rest of Africa, and new technologies are predominantly based on steel structures. So we'll have local steel, we have local products in terms of asbestos sheets and so on and so forth. So it use local resources to bust sanctions, local resources to ensure that we deliver housing, just like what is happening in other sectors of the economy.
Very, very progressive indeed, Honorable Minister. And I'm hoping that our listeners are also catching on that there is a wave coming that will see us using even better materials that are more environmentally safe. Now, coming back to you, Honorable Minister, let's look at some of the areas that are set to benefit from the overall housing program. You did talk about the units, but perhaps just to revisit that, how many houses flats or units are to be delivered to provide decent houses?
We are migrating from the construction of single-story houses, expansive construction, to vertical construction. Vertical construction, most probably Africa is the only continent in the world with its empty spaces empty, with vertical spaces empty, which needs to be occupied. And Africa is agro-based, its economy is agro-based, cut across Africa. If we continue building the way we are building right now, expansively, we will have all the houses that we require, as beautiful as they might appear, but we will be net importers of food. And that's what we're trying to avoid. Look, let's now move away from expansive construction to vertical construction so that our vertical spaces are occupied. And Zimbabweans, again, it's a mindset. Zimbabweans must now learn to live on the 60th floor or 100th floor, whatever. So and you have got your sectional title deeds at that level. And this is where we are going. That's where the whole world is going.
But do you think, that Zimbabweans can unlearn the having a backyard? Adawi samriwa in the back, and just to know that I've got space in the back of my house. That mindset shift.
But we are aware that land is a finite resource. We don't have all the land that we need to be having that small garden of ours. We must just adjust our mindset to accept that I can be living in floor number 60. But somebody who is in the farming area can grow the vegetables for me to go and buy and then have a meal.
A very good way to look at it. So, in exchanging things. All right. And I'm trying to envision myself living on the 65th floor or 60th floor, as the Honorable Minister rightfully says. You mentioned something about title to land. You talked about sectional title, in that example that you just gave. That issue of title deeds has also been one that many residents have had grievances with, at least in Harare, where they say we have deeds of cession that we cannot convert, our CRTs cannot be converted, title deeds are not coming out. Would you be able to address that aspect or that issue around the resolution of some of those outstanding issues, even as this National Housing Delivery Program unfolds and carries on? In
February, March this year, His Excellency launched the title deeds program in Epworth, where I think about 11,500 households were issued with the title deeds. This is a national program. That was only a launch. This is a national program throughout the country, where people are going to be issued with title deeds. Informal settlements are being regularized. Once they're regularized, then people will then have access to that land and security of tenure. But the biggest problem we have at the moment is the animal called land baron. The land baron who is selling state land or council land to unsuspecting several beneficiaries. And we have now come in there, we've been instructed to come in and deal with the animal called land baron and deal with it decisively. A lot of work has been done by government, by an interministerial task force dealing with these issues. And I can safely advise you that in Harare, we are going to be starting a regularization program in Heathcliff, in Harare South. We go to Mashonaland East, there is a place called Caledonia in Goromonzi. We are going to Gimbok in Manicaland until we cover the whole country. We are aware that, out of innocence, I think in 2005, government invited property developers and individuals who had capacity, financial capacity and technical capacity, to come and assist government in the housing delivery, because the backlog was the list was growing. So government said, please come and join us. Government does not have all the requisite resources in terms of finances and technical expertise, but government has got land, and the land is being priced at intrinsic cost. These people then came and said, yes, I'm a developer. Ndauya ndine mari ndinonzi Garwe and Son Private Limited to pay, try me, test me. So government issued land to so many people out of trust. Yeah, unfortunately, the government did not have the mechanism or machinery to be supervising these individual developers. And these people, having realized that government is not supervising us, they started parceling out unserviced land to unsuspecting beneficiaries. This was the creation of the informal settlements. And now we are correcting that. The land still belongs to government. So we are now coming and saying government will come, again, joining hands with banks and the developers, will come and do the first line services, roads, water, sewer, and so on and so forth, including Wi-Fi now, because it's now a first line service. Once that is done, you only pay for your piece of land. If your stand is 200 meters by 200 meters, you are only asked to pay for 200 meters of road construction, 200 meters of water line, 200 meters of sewer line, and so on and so forth. That's what you are paying for. And we are talking to banks to revise the mortgage system, so that if you're paying, say, $200 as rent where you are renting, but you've got this stand of yours, instead of continuing to rent, you can pay the $200 per month towards procuring your own stand where you are building for an agreed period of time. It could be 5 years, it could be 10 years. At least you are paying $200, $150, and so on, depending on the areas. And it becomes a rent to own or a rent to buy mortgage system. This is something that we are discussing with the financial institutions, and they are warming up to that. All we now need to do is to fine-tune it and then sell it to the generality of Zimbabweans, because we have to bring sanity in the informal settlements.
You raised so many interesting aspects out of that. When you say that there's got to be that buy-in, and very importantly, where vetting is then done and people coming in, what advice would you give to the Zimbabwean populace listening right now, in terms of vetting then, or which agreement to get into, pending the very good, it sounds like a very good idea, Honorable Minister, I've got to say, the rent to buy arrangement. In the meantime, what do they do? Or if they were burnt already, vakatotorerwa mari avoita sei?
Government iri kuti kune avo vasati vatorerwa mari musatenga land kuma land barons, haisi yavo estate land or council land. Musatenga land kuma councillors, matsotsi vanenge vachitotengesa havana land, council land. Don't buy from those individuals. We have got a list of bona fide property developers that we are working with, which includes banks. Those are the people that you can come to our offices, and we advise you, if the project involves such organizations or such institutions, go ahead and buy. They are legitimate. These we are Tinapangana kind of people where you are told my stand, which is almost half an acre, 200 square meters, is being sold for $2,000. You must ask questions. How legitimate is this? The person just wants you to part with money and it disappears. And that person can be selling the same stand for several people. And this is what has been happening. Double sales, treble sales, and so on and so forth. And this is where government has now moved in. As Minister of National Housing and Social Amenities, we are working very closely with the corruption authorities. We've got this Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, we've got the Special Anti-Corruption Commission, we've got the Police Anti-Corruption Commission, we've got the ZRAP itself. We are working very closely with those authorities to ensure that we nab the land barons. But the ball starts with the people. As ministry, as government, we cannot go and pick up somebody and bring him to courts, because there is no case between that person and government. But if the person who is duped the money goes and report to the police, then you are starting a case. So people are being encouraged to go and report to the police and bring the matter to the matter is then brought to courts. Then the land barons will be arrested. As I'm speaking right now, we've got a series. We've got so many names of land barons that have been arrested. That some of them are serving. Some of them have already served. And I'm proud to say that since we started dealing with land barons, the scourge is no longer as terrible as it used to be 4 or 5 years ago. There is sanity that is slowly creeping in. They are beginning to abandon even the pieces of land and go away.
Very progressive. We also heard some quarters saying that we feel that it's a catch and release system. We feel that land barons are simply on remand perpetually and nothing is happening. A comment on that?
It's not a catch and release system. The problem is evidence. Someone can only be prosecuted if there is enough documentation, enough evidence to prosecute. And the challenges that we are facing right now is somebody phones us and said there is been duped by Mr. X. Can you please go and report the police? He says, no, I can't go and report the police. Come and help us. How do we help? They must initiate the process themselves. And also, but the first thing is to stop buying land from these unscrupulous people.
Well, you heard the Honorable Minister there very clear. It starts with you, Panoda complainant. Please take your issues to the police so that they can be prosecution, and then that way the Ministry of Housing and Social Amenities can come in and assist you, as the Honorable Daniel Garwe says. He is in the studio as we look and unpack the state of housing in Zimbabwe. Now, Honorable Minister, moving on to another exciting banner that falls under your ministry, Smart City, or the Smart City concept. Tell us a little bit about what this is for somebody who might be hearing about this for the very first time, and then perhaps an update, if any, on the implementation of this world-breaking and revolutionary idea.
Smart cities come in several definitions. Where you own a 2-acre or 3-acre plot and you are constructing some units there, it can become a gated community and it's a smart city with all the services inside, particularly security. But on a much bigger scale, we've looked at Harare. Let's pick Harare for instance. Everybody anywhere in the country wants to come and live in Harare. Sure. We grew up in my rural Murewa, saying the moment I finish school, I want to look for a job in Harare, go and work in Harare. So there's been massive migration of people from all rural communities to Harare. And Harare is densely populated, it's overpopulated because of that. So to reverse that, government has come up with a policy to develop smart cities, which in other jurisdictions they are called dormitory cities. We have Melfort, which is about 45 kilometers from Harare, which is being developed as a smart city. A smart city in the context that it will have all the industries there, it will have all the residential accommodation there, it will have all the social amenities, hospitals, schools, shopping malls, everything that you can imagine, technical, vocational training centers, everything within a cycling distance. You can actually walk from home to a stadium. You can walk from home to a workplace. You can walk from home to a hospital. You can walk from home to a shopping mall. That is the concept. What we want to do is now to get people from Harare into there and free Harare. So is Gweru, so is Bulawayo, so is all our major cities. So that is the concept of smart cities, but being done in a sustainable and modern way. If you go to South Africa, there is a city between Pretoria and Joburg. I can't remember the name. That city is a typical example of a smart city. It's a dormitory city, but it's a city which is self-contained. It can be gated. You can have one way into the city, so that you can manage the security, use all the alternative energy now into solar systems, run on alternative sources of energy. That's what we are doing. So we've identified areas where we want to start the project. I mentioned Melfort between Harare and Marondera. We have also Chirundu border post, which is very strategic economically. It links Zimbabwe with the rest of Africa from that direction. We have Fig Tree, which is in the cattle area in Matabililand. And instead of just waiting for the cold storage commission or cold storage company, we can then develop small meat processing plants in a smart city in Fig Tree, because that's where the cattle, the best of our cattle are from that area. So we're looking at that. But bigger than that, the president came with a new city for Harare in Mount Hamden. And again, investors from all over the world have been invited, and as we speak right now, we've got investors from Dubai that are now developing in Mount Hamden, where our new parliament is, and that's where we're going to be having our government offices there as well. So there is a new city, but being developed under the smart city concept. On a smaller scale, people like if you live in Greendale or Hatfield, you are living on 5 acres. Of the 5 acres, your house and all the social amenities within that house are squeezed on half an acre, which means 4.5 acres are as good as dead equity. So we are now encouraging people, why don't you subdivide and build cluster homes so that you can earn money from that dead equity land? Instead of bothering your child who is wherever he is, you can then make money whilst you are just retiring at home. But the bulk of our parents are in Hatfield, in Waterfalls, in Coronation Park, in Greendale, where the stands are so massive, 6 acres, and you are only occupying 2,000 square meters. Again, if you develop those cluster developments, they become in their own right a smart city concept.
And just dovetailing from that, Honorable Minister, are we also then going to see a new method of even, plotting out stands going forward with this smart city concept, with the vertical building concept? So the 6-acre stands, the massive stands, I think, of the past, also maybe just give us an outlook of what the future looks like in terms of, future town planning.
The future is vertical, optimum utilization of land. If we can put up a 10-story building on 100 square meters, why not do it? Why not do it? Do it.
Just do it, Honorable Ministers. Yes. You're locked on to Capital 100.4 FM, having such an insightful and engaging conversation with Honorable Daniel Garwe, the Minister of National Housing and Social Amenities, just unpacking for us what the future looks like, what has been done on the ground, and more importantly, the state of housing delivery here in Zimbabwe. Honorable Minister, let's come back to the issue of informal settlements. What are the steps being taken to regularize them? I know Epworth is often given as an example, and I've always wondered whether Domboshawa is that a proper settlement as well, or is it an informal settlement that also needs regularization?
Domboshawa now qualifies to be called an informal settlement because people are coming from Harare and buying stands illegally from traditional leaders in that area. It's not Domboshawa alone. I think you go to Sekes, the same thing. So eventually, under rural transformation, they need to be regularized and they become peri-urban areas. That's what government is now working on. But I think, you see, that tells you a story which Zimbabweans, particularly some miswired politicians, don't want to accept. Zimbabwe is an agro-based economy. The reason why somebody is driving from Harare to go and buy a stand in Domboshawa is because he wants a piece of land to grow something for himself. That's the reason. But we are saying we cannot continue doing that. We need to ensure that wherever people are settling themselves or are being settled, we have provided services. Because remember, we have got a national vision which informs us or which instructs us to develop this country to an upper middle income economy status. And we cannot by 2030 say we are now at that level when we have got informal settlements dotted right around the country. It will not work. So we must make sure that we regularize all the informal settlements and put a lid to any informal settlements that might be being created by those people that are illegally selling land. So we are very much aware of that, and it is under the law. It's going to be an offense to sell land because you're a traditional leader.
So an amendment to the Traditional Leaders Act, perhaps?
We will advocate for that. We are going to be advocating for that. For right now, it's not. It's something that we're thinking about. I think we need to put a stop to this.
Indeed. And in terms of the actual steps to regularizing, many people will wake up with the fear that they will see bulldozers, they will simply be moved. Some have been settled in many areas and maybe have attachments to the land. Some have buried people, on those pieces of land. And then they're asked to move away. Maybe just outline for us, maybe allay any fears in terms of how your ministry will go about the regularization.
The regularization agenda is being driven by a cluster of ministries. We have the Ministry of Local Government and Public Works, being the principal authority on urban state land. We have got the Ministry of National Housing and Social Amenities, who are the implementing agent in ensuring that the services are provided. We have got the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, which is responsible, which is an authority on ZINGSA, Zimbabwe Geospatial Planning and Space Agency, who are coming around and doing aerial mapping to identify how people are settled in those informal settlements. Remember, some of these informal settlements have got layout plans. They were properly planned at that stage, but people then started building even on the way of roads, areas set aside for social amenities, schools, clinics, hospitals. So Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education will come through ZINGSA and do aerial mapping, identify those that are legitimate, that built legitimately in terms of the layout plans. Those will be issued with the title deeds. Those that built illegitimately will be relocated to areas that are going to be identified by government. So that, because we can't have an area which has no road. You can't do. How do you process the title deeds when there are no roads? You need to have a physical address attached to a title deed. But if there is no road, how do you do that?
You create one.
Yes. Then we also have the Minister of Justice, who are the authority on the deeds office for the actual issuance of the title deed. So it's a cluster of ministries that are working on this title deed issue and the regularization program. No house is going to be demolished when government is no appetite to do that. In fact, by regularizing, government is actually protecting the citizens that are there from continued abuse by land barons. So they must now sleep knowing fully well that the government is a responsible government, is protecting citizens by regularizing the areas where they are living informally.
Honorable Daniel Garwe in the studio here as we talk about the state of housing, and we're just looking at regularization of informal settlements. There he says, sleep easy. The issue of regularization will be done properly using geo-mapping or aerial mapping, and that no one's house will be demolished. Now, Honorable Minister, you spoke a little bit about land barons. We spoke a little bit also just now about informal settlements and some of the nuisances or menaces that may have been militating against your mandate. Have you faced any other threats or challenges in executing your mandate as a ministry?
Well, the only challenge that this country is facing is the impact of sanctions on development. And that is alive, it's affecting everybody. The issues of land barons are no longer a threat. We are dealing decisively with them. So we only have one threat, the impact of sanctions on Zimbabwe. It's affecting the rate at which we are going to be delivering.
Indeed. Now, Honorable Minister, if you allow me, I'm just going to take a few questions from our listeners that have come in on our WhatsApp platform. The number is 0719-100-404. It's not every day that we have the Honorable Minister of National Housing and Social Amenities in the studio, but he is here now. Please do interface with him. I can only take a few questions. We've got just under 10 minutes before we wrap it up in this evening. For all of our listeners joining us on Facebook, please do the same. And you can see the minister sitting across from me in living voice and color as we have this very important conversation about his important ministry. This one comes in and says, hello and a good evening, Rumbi and the Honorable Minister. May I ask the minister what citizens should do with churches which are built on state land and recreational spaces? Tinongomuka toona paiswa fence kana brick wall pakutonzi hapana nzira. The Honorable Minister maybe needs to visit the erstwhile recreational park in Budiriro. Anzi angowe masowe eka eka. This is Babaniki in Budiriro. So a question there for you, Honorable Minister.
I think he is referring to a specific area which needs specific attention. But churches fall under the social amenities aspect, and there are areas designated for the construction of churches in all these human settlements. People don't just wake up and start building a church wherever they feel like doing that. That's not correct. But this is a specific issue referring to a specific area, which I think if we get more details, we'll be able to visit them and see what's happening and then correct where it can be corrected.
Thank you so much. So, Babaniki, please give us more details there, and I'll be sure to forward them to the Honorable Minister. This one says, Honorable Minister, if we divide our 5 acres in Borodale into cluster homes, then Borodale will become a high-density suburb, and also sewage infrastructure will be overwhelmed. We may then have sewage bursts in Borodale with raw sewage flowing freely, and then they don't seem very happy about that. How do you respond to that? You know, that there might be people who want to leave, their big yards as they are. Your message or response?
We must decolonize our minds first by creating value for your idle land. You are not densifying the area, not at all. The high density and low density definitions that we inherited from the colonial masters refer to the number of people that were living there for whites and the number of people that were living this side of development for blacks. We are not in any way increasing the density. We are basically adding value to your property and also solving a problem in terms of housing shortage. Why would you want to have 5 acres and you are 65 years old, 70 years old, and there are the two of you, and it's now an emptiness? Kids have gone, they will not come back, they only visit and go. Why don't you create value out of that? And that's what we are encouraging. And that this is what is even in the UK, the poshest suburbs of the UK are less than 2,000 square meters in area.
Well, there you have it. Honorable Minister responds there. Honorable Garwe, this one says, Hanzi ndibvunzireo kuna minister kuti yakamirawo sei nzvimbo yedu isi tiri kuno ku Riverside Park along Amalinda neChuru, hanzi panyaya yeregularization tiri kupindawo here muma irregular settlements or informal settlements.
It's already under that. That's Harare South. They fall under the Harare South banner. So they are going to be regularized.
618, I hope you're answered there. Let me just take 2 more, Honorable Minister, and we will let you go. This is a question around issues here, construction in wetlands. And they say, how are you dealing with that? Does that also fall under your purview as a ministry, Honorable Minister? And they say, are there any exceptions to construction on wetlands?
Wetlands fall under the Ministry of Environment, Tourism and Environment. Houses fall under us. Building in wetlands is illegal, it's criminal, it's not allowed. It's a serious offense. The people that had built in wetlands out of ignorance, let me loosely use that term, out of ignorance, are going to be relocated. As I'm speaking to you, government is working on a program to build flats in Zvarasekwa, in Marondera, where we're going to relocate people that had built in river banks and wetlands. But there are those that are so stubborn that they think if they go rush and build there, the government will come and regularize us. The answer is no, we will not regularize you, we will demolish, because we must preserve our wetlands.
Indeed, so very strong message there on wetlands. Hanzi Bodo, Nikisi, don't build there. And then the last one, Honorable Minister, says residents in Kingsdale, Norton, have been abused by a developer who's demolishing their houses. Please, can government intervene here? What can you do to protect these people, Honorable Minister?
The issue of that area not on is under the courts. As we are aware, if the matter is before the courts, the executive will not interfere in terms of the three arms of government. So we are aware of that, and we at the end of the day, a solution is going to be found where we want to establish, what we're trying to establish right now is how the developer ended up having that piece of land. I don't want to get into the details of how we got there, but right now it's before the courts, and it's not proper for me to comment on matters that are before the courts.
Absolutely. Honorable Minister says that the matter is sub judice, so we will wait and see how it ends and what resolution the judiciary comes to there. And then very lastly, I know you were saying that people should approach your ministry to get checks on maybe people who are trying to sell them land, to get credible information. Where do they find your ministry, or how can they interface with that particular aspect of your ministry to be able to either take issues up with your ministry, some of these issues in Budiriro, or perhaps just to get legitimate information on who owns what and whether or not a certain piece of land can be sold?
We have got several departments in the ministry. We have got the Department of Urban Housing and Social Amenities, which deals with the urban, all issues to do with the housing in urban areas. We have got the Department of Rural Housing and Social Amenities, which deals with the peri-urban areas and rural communities. We have the Department of Housing Estates. If they come to the ministry or to their offices in the provinces or district, they'll be able to get assistance from the ministry.
Honorable Minister, thank you so much for looking into all those questions raised by our listeners. I'm also just trying to see if I can have a look at our Facebook platform to see if anyone has sent any messages there for your attention as well. But as we wrap up the program, Honorable Minister, I'd invite you to just give us your closing remarks and parting shot to the Zimbabwean people listening, interested in housing, interested in the future, perhaps wanting to take that big leap and purchase their first house, their first stand, and also just to be aware of, even if they're building, some of those aspects that you're talking about, that we are moving and the trajectory is very bright.
Thank you very much. I think it takes two to tango. We want the citizens to work with government, for government to be able to assist citizens. Please do not buy land from dubious land sellers, whom we call land barons. That's our statement number one as government. Don't buy land from land barons. Sometimes they come and wave an offer letter. Check the legitimacy of that offer letter. Maybe it could be a fraudulent document, but the majority of them have got fraudulent documents. And because people are so excited to pay for a piece of land, they don't scrutinize the document and they end up being duped. Don't do that. Governments throughout the world survive because citizens are working with government. We're encouraging Zimbabweans to join hands with government to develop this country. The president is saying every day, Nika inovakwa neve nevayo. We are the Zimbabweans. We are responsible for the development of this country, or the lack of development of this country. We will still remain responsible. No visitor will come and develop your home. You have to develop it yourselves. Let's develop our country. And lastly, the president is preaching about peace and peace and peace. We are now preparing for elections in August. Let's be peaceful. Let's be tolerant. Let's be respectful of each other. That's my message.
Thank you so much. That's Honorable Daniel Garwe. Honorable Minister Tatenda Nikuya Kwamaita Studio. Thank you so much for your time and for telling us all these exciting things that are happening within your ministry. And we are looking forward to engaging with you very, very soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's happiness all day long on the Happy Station. Capital 104 FM.
Harara's heartbeat.
The Exchange on Deep Dive.
You make a man need a spinner. Coca-Cola shape Wagamira. You make a man kakamira. Oh my sweet Carolina.